My name is Alice Dawnay and I founded Switchback 15 years ago, and Switchback is a resettlement charity based in London. So the thing that we know about what's important for prison leavers in the first days and weeks after they're released is that they have a plan and that they have a person who ideally has known them in the prison, who is a trusted, consistent, reliable presence, who can support them through that transition from prison to the community, and who ideally will meet them on the day of release and support them for however long it takes thereafter. And what we know is that if that person can support them with the practical things, such as ID, a bank account, housing, somewhere to live, then they can also support them with the emotional side of the transition and all of the challenges of dealing with that transition from institution back to the community. We focus a lot on what prison leavers need to do to reintegrate into society. I think it's really important also to look at what can society do to support prison leavers. They've served their sentence, they're ready to come out and to build a new life and to move forward. And sometimes it can feel like there are just barrier after barrier after barrier for them to move forward with their lives. So I think creating a situation where there isn't a restriction on employment for prison leavers, where there is housing and where there's a good start of being able to get set up for the future is really important. I think that the values that somebody who's supporting a prison leaver needs to have is that they need to understand that this is a long process and that it takes time and that it's not a linear process. It doesn't just shoot up and suddenly things are better. There tends to be ups and downs. And so having patience, being prepared to be really consistent and reliable, doing what you say you're going to do is really critical, because very often the young men who are leaving prison have experienced a lot of being let down, a lot of false promises. Very often they've experienced, they're coming out to quite a chaotic situation, and having that consistency and that relationship that is there and is present for them can make the whole difference. Yes, we've got lots of examples of people who have come through from prison and which Switchback has helped. It's difficult to think of just one example because each time we have somebody come through, they're having to deal with, their own set of difficulties and challenges. I mean, recently we had somebody coming through who was managing a lot of mental health difficulties, had to really be in a position to ask for help, which as a young man, I think for any young man is difficult. I think particularly young men from the very macho culture of prison, it's particularly difficult to ask for help. And this young man was able to do that with his Switchback mentor, with his support worker, and to start building the life that he wanted. And he came through a bakery, started doing shifts in a bakery, started learning about making bread, but also, more importantly, working with a team, being part of something that wasn't just his problems, but being part of something that was doing something positive and doing something good. And he has overcome a lot of different hurdles and got himself into accommodation and got himself a paid job in the bakery. So in terms of difficulties of doing this work as a charity in the system, we found that a lot of the way that the funding is released for organisations is by siloing it up into little bits and pieces. So there's funding for mental health over here, there's funding for substance misuse over here, for accommodation over here, and very often these different areas are not joined up. But each person at the centre of this may have needs that span various different areas. And we've found that we need to fundraise independently in order to be able to work long-term and in a properly person-centred way, where we can support them with all of those areas in the way that they need the support and for as long as they need it.